If I ask you, how many brains do you have? Most of you would think, why I'm asking such silly questions. But according to researchers at Michigan State University, we have a second brain in our body and it is present in our guts. Now you can understand why we often talk about gut feelings. With the help of our gut feelings, we can predict the future and take decisions in difficult and uncertain situations. Have you ever thought why sometimes we feel butterflies or sinking feeling in the pit of our stomach in non dangerous situations? Even when our conscious mind cannot see any threat, our guts start to send us threat signals to indicate the possibility of some danger. How sometimes we can tell whether a person is good or bad just by looking at him or her. There are many such situations where we can predict and take the right decision just on the basis of our gut feelings. And we even don't know how could we do that. We just do it right and we have no explanation for it. So now the new research says it's not just by chance. There is a very intelligent brain present in your guts that stores large amounts of information. Now I'm going to tell you something that will boggle your mind. Our main brain, that is located inside our head, collects enormous amounts of information from our surroundings. If we talk about numbers, then our subconscious mind can process about 20 million bits of information per second, but our conscious mind can process only 40 bits of information per second. What does it mean? It means you are constantly bombarded with infinite number of bits of information per second by your surroundings. This information includes everything you see, every sound you hear, your surrounding temperature, every feeling, every touch, every taste, and everything you can think of. But we are able to focus consciously on negligible amount of information because our conscious mind can process at the rate of 40 bits per second only. But our subconscious mind can process the information millions of times faster. The subconscious mind actually keeps record of almost everything that's happening without our notice. Our subconscious mind stores all the information, and one copy of this massive information is sent to the gut brain. Therefore, your gut brain knows your environment and surroundings very well. And by processing this extremely large amounts of information, it gives you gut feelings. On the basis of your gut feelings, you can even predict the future or can take right decisions in unknown and uncertain situations. Actually, the situation may be uncertain or difficult for your conscious mind, but it's not for your gut brain and subconscious mind because it has already gathered lots of similar data in the past from the surroundings and has unbelievable capacity to process information at 20 million bits per second. Based on this large data storage and high processing power, situations are not unknown for your gut brain and subconscious mind. This is the reason why your stomach starts to send threat signals when you are in danger. Now we know how powerful is our gut brain or so-called second brain. Shouldn't we know more about it? Yes, of course. So let's start. This second brain, located in our intestines, can even perform its functions independently and can take its own decisions without the help of our main brain. Do you know many important things like how you feel, your emotions and mood, your immunity, digestion, various hormones, and even the way you think is decided by your gut brain? You will find it interesting that the medicines taken for mental diseases like depression, anxiety, etc., actually mainly work on your guts and large colonies of microorganisms found there. Do you know that 90% of the body's serotonin hormone, which is responsible for happiness and stabilizing mood, is produced in the digestive tract? And nearly 50% of the dopamine hormone is also released by the gastrointestinal tract. Dopamine hormone is a type of neurotransmitter and plays an important role in how we think, plan, and feel pleasure. You will be surprised to know that thousands of different types of bacteria live in our guts. Don't worry, these are healthy bacteria. Over the course of evolution, microbes have evolved with us and they are so important for us that we cannot actually live without them. It has been estimated that about 100 trillion bacteria live inside our digestive system. They are collectively known as the gut microbiota. If you measure the weight of all the bacteria present in our gut, it would be around 4 pounds. Do you know, if we consider all the microbiota present in our body, then it would be 10 times more than the total number of human cells present in our body. It means 10 microorganisms for every single human body cell. You have just 1/10 of yourself in you. Amazing. Just think about it. Further in this video, I will discuss how the large colonies of trillions of bacteria present in your intestine and the enteric nervous system, known as the second brain, play a very important role in our overall mental and physical health. We will also see how our guts are responsible for our depression, mood disorders, and even thinking patterns, etc. So keep watching the video for more interesting stuff. Friends, our brain contains approximately 100 billion neurons. But do you know there are 500 million neurons in our gut? These neurons are connected to the brain through nerves. The vagus nerve is the biggest nerve that connects our gut and brain. There is a web of neurons in the wall of the gastrointestinal tract known as the enteric nervous system. Surprisingly, enteric nervous system contains more number of neurons than the whole of the spinal cord. After knowing that our gut and brain are deeply interconnected, the gastrologists are now looking into the brain, and doctors dealing with brain are trying to find the solution of unsolved mental issues in the guts. Gut bacteria have been found to be responsible for anxiety, depression, and many other mental disorders. Not only this, these microbes also affect the parts of our brain which deals with emotions. For example, if you are depressed or in mental pressure, then this condition may trigger diarrhea, abdominal pain, or other problems related to the digestion. In exam times or during public speaking, you might have experienced butterflies and some trouble in your stomach. It may happen because of anxiety, fear, nervousness, or even excitement. When you find yourself in danger, the fight or flight response of the central nervous system is triggered, as the danger may be life threatening, so in response, the enteric nervous system slows down or stops the process of digestion of food to save energy for more important task of coming out of the threat situation. In the same way, troubled intestines send signals to the brain. You might have observed just by thinking about your favorite dish, your stomach releases digestive juices. There is a bidirectional link between the central nervous system and the enteric nervous system, known as the gut brain axis GBA. Cross communication between the gut and brain has opened new doors for possibilities to cure many diseases. Gut and brain are not only linked through the nervous system but also through the immune system and hormones. We know that the bacteria present in our gut play a very important role in our physical and mental health. But do you know that it is possible to improve your brain health just by changing the types of bacteria living in your guts? You can promote the growth of the healthy gut bacteria by including probiotics, fermented foods, and omega 3 fatty acids in your diet. After seeing the close relationship between the brain and guts, medical researchers who are studying constipation, ulcers, and other gastrointestinal diseases are looking into the brain functioning, And in the same way, researchers who are investigating mental diseases and disorders like autism, depression, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's disease, anxiety, pain, etc., are investigating what's wrong with the patient's guts. Our nervous system has two main parts: central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is made up of brain and spinal cord, while the peripheral nervous system contains large number of nerves. These nerves branch off from the brain and spinal cord and reach to all parts of our body. The enteric nervous system comes under the peripheral nervous system. Our gut contains mainly two types of nervous system cells: neurons and glia. There is a large network of neurons and glial cells along the walls of our digestive tract. The number of these cells in a person's gut is nearly equal to the number found in the brain of a cat. As most of us know that neuron cells conduct the electrical signals in the nervous system, but glial cells are not electrically active. This property of the glial cells made it more difficult for the scientists to understand what these cells actually do. According to previous researches, it was thought that glial cells' function was just to provide passive support for neurons. But the new research says that glial cells very precisely influence the signals carried by neuronal circuits. To make it more easy, we can understand the functioning of glial cells using simple examples and analogies. According to Brian D. Gulbrandsen, thinking of this second brain as a computer, the glia are the chips working in the periphery. They are an active part of the signaling network, but not like neurons. The glia are modulating or modifying the signal. In electronics language, the function of glial cells is much more similar to the logic gates, which are capable of controlling signals. There are large number of functions that are performed by the secondary brain or the enteric nervous system. It includes pushing the food along the digestive tract by triggering muscle contraction and relaxation in harmony. It also plays an important role in controlling local blood flow, functioning of the immune system, and mucus secretions, etc. For maximum absorption of nutrients present in the food, it is necessary that the contents of the intestine are well mixed. This job is taken care of by the gut brain. Its function is also to decide what to absorb and what to reject. The second brain knows it very well: what nutrients are beneficial and what substances and microbes are harmful for the body. So it does it effectively. Now we will know many interesting facts about the microorganisms that are living in our guts. So, as I already discussed, our guts are home to trillions of microbes. But why are they living there? And what's their purpose? Will we survive if we kill them? Or what benefits we will get by promoting their growth and how to do that? So don't go anywhere, keep watching. It's going to make you healthier. Although different species of microorganisms live in all parts of our body, but their highest number and diversity is found in the gastrointestinal tract. These microbes play so much important role in our overall well-being that it is not possible to survive in their absence. We are dependent on these microorganisms for many vital functions they do. These functions are essential for our survival, as our body cannot do these by its own. These microbiota found in our intestines are responsible for many nutritional, immunological, metabolic, and physiological processes in the human body. Do you know that our body is not capable of digesting dietary polysaccharides, such as resistant starch and dietary fibers? But the gut microbiota do this job for us by breaking down complex carbohydrates and extracting energy from such food. Hence, they help in digestion of the food that we otherwise cannot digest. It has been found in various researches that the gut microbiota help in controlling weight reducing blood sugar levels, and also lower the risk of diabetes. They have also been linked to improved mental health and better mood conditions. Therefore, it is important to maintain a healthy balance of microbiota in the guts for our overall mental and physical well being. An imbalance of microbiota due to the reduction in microbial diversity is known as microbial dysbiosis. You may be more susceptible to infections because of less diverse species of microbiota in the guts. It is possible to maintain a healthy balance of microbiota in the guts by eating a healthy and varied diet. It's been found that taking a diet full of probiotics, fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, pickled vegetables, kombucha tea, and miso, etc., can help in maintaining the diversity of microbiota in the guts. You should also avoid taking antibiotics unnecessarily as it kills healthy microorganisms too, along with harmful bacteria. By adopting these habits and taking some precautions, you can take care of these microorganisms and they will also take care of your health. Friends, this is all for now. If you have any query, you can ask in the comment section and please let me know what you think about this video. If you
had a gut feeling which turned out to be correct, an ominous sensation minutes before receiving bad news, the feeling someone is watching through a crowd proven correct, a decision you just have to make but don't know why, a friend or family member popping into thoughts moments before they send a text message. What if this is more than just a coincidence? What if it is, in fact, some sort of sixth sense? Is it possible that since the earliest days human beings had a sense which goes beyond sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch? A sense which, rather than lost over time, has merely been obscured? This may sound like the trailer for the latest superhero movie, or at least something out of a new agey spiritual teaching. Far from it. The concept of a sixth sense has existed throughout the annals of human history, and increasingly in modern times is being discussed and studied seriously by science. So, what is this supposed sixth sense? Does it exist? And if so, just what can it do? In 2019, researchers from the California Institute of Technology, known as Caltech, led by the enigmatic scientist Joseph Kirschvink, published an article that shocked the scientific community. Through vigorous study, Kirschvink and his team had shown that human beings are capable of magnetoreception, that is, humans have the ability to pick up the Earth's magnetic field, a previously unrecorded sixth sense. The Guardian, reporting the story, called it a power to be boasted of by the X-Men. The study was complex. Researchers built an isolation chamber in which study participants were asked to sit for an hour in utter darkness and silence. During this time, a magnetic field was passed around the chamber, and participants' brainwaves were measured and recorded via electrodes positioned at 64 locations on their heads. Researchers noticed that when the magnetic field pointed north and then swept upwards or downwards over the head or rotated counterclockwise, a significant drop was seen in the subject's alpha brainwaves. This indicated activity. When the brain is resting, alpha brainwaves are high. A drop signifies engagement. Kirschvink described the response of participants during these scenarios as freaking out. Perhaps freaking out is not an overly technical term. What did Kirschvink mean? What exactly was happening to the study's participants? As one of the members of the research team said, the brain is responding to a magnetic field in a particular way. I just have no idea what mechanism that really represents. What was this sixth sense participants were experiencing? The mystery can begin to be unraveled by momentarily directing attention away from human beings and towards mole rats. Yes, mole rats. Studies have shown that these animals have the ability of magnetoreception, which they use as a sort of a guidance system on long journeys. In fact, this is not at all unique to mole rats. Migratory birds use magnetoreception to guide them, as do bees, bats, salmon, and turtles. Even snails and worms possess the ability. Think of lobsters walking in a single file line of 50 or more at the bottom of the ocean. This is magnetoreception at work. Further, studies have shown cattle and deer align with the magnetic field when standing around, while dogs will not defecate unless their spines are aligned in a north-south compass direction. One scientist even found that specific bacterium have a pronounced magnetic sense. The point is simple. This magnetic sixth sense is something that exists across the animal kingdom. And as Connie Wong, Caltech graduate student and one of the lead authors on Kirschvink's study asked, many animals have magnetoreception, so why not us? Note that Kirschvink and his team were not the first to consider the topic of magnetoreception in human beings. They were simply the first to achieve the groundbreaking step of producing measurable data. In 1980, British scientist Robin Baker conducted a series of experiments around Manchester, England, which he believes showed magnetoreception in humans. He started by blindfolding participants and taking them by minibus on a winding ride through the countryside. Eventually, thoroughly lost, he would ask the participants to orient themselves towards the compass direction of home. Incredibly, in almost all cases, they were able to correctly pick the direction, except for those who had a magnet placed in their blindfolds. This suggested that it was, in fact, magnetoreception, which informed the ability to determine direction, the magnet acting as an interruption of the natural magnetic field. Baker produced similar results with walkabouts and spinning chairs, even performing such experiments on television. However, when Baker went to the United States to recreate his experiments for skeptical scientists at places like Princeton and Harvard universities, they failed to yield the results he had promised. Baker was labeled a charlatan and a fake, until years later it was discovered that AM radio stations interfere with magnetic fields. As Baker had first done the experiments in Manchester, which did not have AM stations at the time, before coming to the northeastern US, which was saturated with them. This explained his failure to replicate his experiments at the time. Not surprisingly, the incredible inventor Nikola Tesla, who was way ahead of his time, knew that already and is being quoted saying the following: "Alpha waves in the human brain are between 6 and 8 hertz. The wave frequency of the human cavity resonates between 6 and 8 hertz. All biological systems operate in the same frequency range. The human brain's alpha waves function in this range, and the electrical resonance of the Earth is between 6 and 8 hertz. Thus, our entire biological system, the brain and the Earth itself, work on the same frequencies. If we can control that resonant system electronically, we can directly control the entire mental system of humankind." Could this be the reason governments around the world are mass constructing 5G towers in the most populated areas and precisely in front of homes and schools? These towers are emitting weaponized frequencies which alter our body's natural electromagnetic fields. They can damage DNA and lead to cancer, cause oxidative damage that can cause premature aging, disrupt cell metabolism, cause brain cancer, and potentially lead to other diseases through the generation of stress proteins. They basically create a global grid that lowers our brain's frequencies and dumbs down the population. Meanwhile, half a world away, Russian scientist Oleg Shumilov was conducting his own research on the Earth's magnetic field and its impact on humans. Over the course of decades, Shumilov noted that there were 3 geomagnetic peaks each year: March to May, in July, and then finally in October. Perhaps not coincidentally, Shumilov found these peaks coincided with peak times for recorded suicides. In fact, since then, many studies have shown suicide, along with mental health problems like depression, to be associated with the appearance of geomagnetic storms or solar flares. What Baker, Shumilov, and others had shown, if without measurement, was that human beings do possess some sort of magnetoreception ability, and that changes in the Earth's geomagnetic field have real impacts on this sixth sense. However, this raised more questions than answers. As Baylor College neurobiologist David Dickman explained, with the existence of a sixth sense being proven, the issue became how the brain actually uses this information. The most interesting scientific insight on this question thus far perhaps comes from author and experimental scientist Walter Rawls. Rawls started with the work of Robin Baker, who, years after he first conducted his direction experiments in Manchester, discovered magnetic deposits in the brain surrounding the pineal gland. Perhaps, thought Rawls, it was the pineal gland which would provide the key to this mysterious sixth sense. He began to conduct an experiment in which he would wear a mask that held a magnet directly over his pineal gland for 10 to 30 minutes at a time. During the first week, as he sat and worked quietly wearing the mask, he suddenly noticed something out of the corner of his eye. When he turned his head to see what it was, he was shocked by a ghostly figure entering the room through the wall, then disappearing out the other side. The next week, the same figure appeared, less ghostly this time, more defined. It looked at Rawls, then disappeared. Finally, during the third week wearing the mask, the room around Rawls dissipated entirely, leaving him looking at a hillside with two people sitting under a tree. One of them was the figure he had seen twice previously. They looked at him, startled, before the scene faded away and a fearful Rawls took the mask off forever. It may sound incredible.
At Stanford Health,
Unbelievable even. But is it possible Rawls was onto something? The pineal gland is located on the roof of the third ventricle of the brain, directly behind the root of the nose. Think of the space between your eyes. It is shaped like a pine cone, which is where it gets its name, pinea being Latin for pine cone. It is known to produce melatonin and serotonin, in effect, making the pineal gland a crucial regulator of the body's functions, of biocycles, growth, sleep, metabolism, hormones, and sexual development. More mysteriously, the pineal gland produces chemicals called beta-carbolines, neuromodulators which have the same effect as pharmaceutical products like Prozac, and the chemical known as DMT, a sister to ayahuasca, a psychedelic ceremonial drink used by the tribes of the Amazon rainforest. Was it possible Rawls had altered the production of these chemicals with his magnet mask? Regardless, it seems this tiny gland possesses an unusual and outsized power, a power which science does not yet have a grasp on. As University of Michigan professor of physiology and neurology, Jimo Borjikan put it, we still lack a complete understanding of the pineal gland. Numerous molecules are found in the pineal, many of which are uniquely found at night, and we do not have a good idea of what their functions are. With science baffled, it must be outside of the realm of science from which insights are gained. Consider the ancient Egyptians, for whom the pineal gland was a representation of power, wisdom, and good health. The Eye of Horus, among the most well-known Egyptian symbols, is actually a depiction of the pineal gland inside the brain. Further, atop the staff of the god Osiris sits a pine cone, another pineal reference. It should be no surprise then that Egyptians preserved the pineal gland separately in the process of mummification. But they were not the only ones who used the pineal gland and its pine cone representation throughout their most important iconography. It appeared in many other civilizations, from Greeks and Romans to Assyrians, Sumerians, and even across the world to the ancient tribes of what is now Mexico. The spires of the Cambodian marvel, Angkor Wat, are pine cones reaching up to the sky, while even the Vatican, at the heart of Catholicism, has an enormous pine cone statue. In fact, the Pope, like the Egyptian god Osiris, carries a staff with a pine cone, while church lamps and candle holders also contain the symbol representing the pineal gland as illumination, as showing the way out of darkness. What is it that human beings used to know about the pineal gland in order to make it such an important part of their existence across cultures and time periods, which modern science does not? What is his way out of darkness? Famed French philosopher René Descartes described the pineal gland as the principal seat of the soul. He explained that humans have 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 2 sides of the brain, but only one pineal gland, the only part of the brain which is not doubled. Descartes believed that this meant it must be the place where information from all of these pairs was consolidated for consideration by the soul, a sort of meta-organ, which both combines and transcends all other senses. Here, the pineal gland described by Descartes bears a striking resemblance to what, in Hindu tradition, is called the 6th chakra, the eye of intuition, or more simply, the third eye. Interestingly, recent scientific discoveries have shown that the pineal gland does, in reality, have a strangely similar tissue makeup to the retinas of the eyes. Under a microscope, the cells appear almost identical. Because of this, scientists have postulated that the pineal gland may in fact be the remnants of an actual eye left over evolutionarily from a prehistoric ancestor, like the wings of an ostrich. But perhaps this third eye is not so much left over as forgotten. Perhaps the sixth sense discovered by Kirschvink and his team was in fact rediscovered, an ancient knowledge once celebrated through art and spirituality, an ability which human beings have not lost, but rather merely lost awareness of. But if the pineal gland is the source of a sixth sense, which humans have lost awareness of, what could a return of this awareness mean? In Hindu tradition, the third eye is a source of intuitive wisdom, knowledge of past, present, and future. It is a sort of cosmic consciousness that goes beyond the typical limits of perception, beyond the 5 senses of sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. It has been suggested that the development of this eye can facilitate an enhanced spiritual connection, lucid dreaming, and telepathic empathy, even psychic vision and astral projection. As author Ilchi Li proclaimed, the pineal gland shows spirituality is a built-in feature of the human brain. Think of Walter Rawls manipulating his pineal gland with a magnet. The ghostly figures he started to see certainly beyond what he would typically have been able to perceive with his 5 basic senses. But Rawls has only scratched the surface of this phenomenon. Human beings do have a sixth sense. That much is now irrefutably known thanks to Kirschvink and his team of Caltech scientists. What remains to be seen is just what type of power this sixth sense might hold, what type of secrets, once known by the ancients but since lost to humankind, it might reveal, just what this literal and spiritual third eye might actually be able to do. Thank you for watching. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video.